Like I said, Donald Trump done lost the election. The Arizona was officially called today, but again, this is projections by the media, by the Associated Press. North Carolina was called for Trump, and many of Trump's legal efforts are just crashing and burning. Much like basically Trump's second presidency or second term, there won't be one. Basically, Trump's presidency is going to be a lot like Trump Steaks or Trump University or Trump Airlines or any of the numerous businesses that the dude tacked his name onto that went bankrupt, went defunct. Here is, oh, God, there he is, Donald Trump. He's done. And it really is his efforts to subvert the election, subvert the vote, throw out votes, hold off the certification of the election. They're many things. They're impotent. They're sad. They're kind of funny. They're embarrassing. There are a lot of things. But yeah, he really is done, and he knows it. We all know it. But his supporters don't know it. His supporters believe anything and everything that this guy says. And I spoke with a supporter of his at length yesterday. It's a local organizer for the MAGA Drag the Interstate event. Super mad at me about a previous video I did. Go look at that video. Go get in arguments with the people trying to make stuff up, and give it a like, please. Like this video if you can. And again, I'm trying to keep my eye on the chats. Again, I'm a noob at all of this, so I'm trying to do this while I'm making this video, but it's a little difficult for me because I'm not a seasoned live streamer. I don't have the multiple screens or any of that stuff. But anyway, this MAGA supporter, because let's be real, everybody. You got to know not all Republicans are MAGA Republicans. I had a conversation with a Republican I've known for a long time once, and they made a distinction, really clearly to me, and said, those are MAGA people, and we're not exactly MAGA people. Okay, so even Republicans are a little embarrassed about this whole situation. But they're still going to get as much out of this as they possibly can. That's how it works. That's why the Senate, Mitch McConnell, that's why they're even humoring this guy with his goofy joke of a trying to hold on to power. His I think is called it a coup. Some people are trying to call it a coup because, Mike Pompeo said some crazy stuff the other day. People are just so afraid of this guy firing them. And they're so afraid of Trump's base that they won't stand anywhere near the idea that he should concede or any of that. They are just standing with Trump. Got to do what Trump says. It was stolen. It's all a hoax. This stuff is super dangerous, I believe. And I spoke to a MAGA supporter yesterday, and she's livid, super upset, just kind of screamed in my ear for an hour, and then we kind of had a conversation for the half hour after that. And it was fun. Kind of found some common ground. And, so they really are buying this. If you're a MAGA person, you're buying it hook, line, and sinker that there's been voter fraud. And it's funny, in the comments of my last YouTube video, there's all these people saying, look at the evidence, do some research, bro. And I've done plenty of research, looked into all their claims. They're all nonsense. Their election officials have made clear some of the wacky beliefs that they have about the ballots, about the voter rolls, about this, about that. And, I'm just a dude on YouTube, live streaming here on YouTube and Twitch. Who cares what I think, right? I'm no better or worse. I do have print journalism experience. I know a thing or two about reporting the facts of an issue. But you have all these, other just bearded YouTube yahoos like me making claims about voter rolls and about, look at this video, look at these people collecting the ballots, and shadowy figures on Fox News. Fox is literally hiding people's identity as they just make spurious claims. And so why should you take my word for it? Anybody can just make stuff up on YouTube, or they can just claim things. But we do have one place that really does hold to the highest standard of evidence. And what is that? What am I talking about? Well, court of law, right? Courts have one of the higher standards of evidence in, any public sphere, really. The First Amendment is such that you can say just about anything you want, right? You can just make crazy claims. But, when you take that stuff to court, it doesn't, it might not go so hot. It might not go as smoothly as you think if you just want to lie about stuff. If you just want to be a liar. Which, I'm not an endless, end-all, be-all defender of the Democratic Party and Democrats, but Republicans know how to lie, and Trump is the biggest liar of them all. And so if we look here, this is a Washington Post story. Trump's attempts to challenge the election results suffer further setbacks. Wah, wah, wah. So many of Trump's efforts get immediately smacked down in the courts. They do very poorly. Now, why is that? Why do they do so poorly in the courts? Because they're literally presenting no evidence, people. They're not presenting any credible evidence about what's going on here, because really nothing's going on. But they are trying to, present these claims that there's all these problems with votes. The only victory they've had is having a few dozen votes thrown out in Pennsylvania because of deadlines, but that's it. So if we look at this story, President Trump's faltering efforts to challenge the election results suffered twin blows Friday as Republicans contended with multiple legal setbacks as the final state projections in the White House race gave President-elect Joe Biden a resounding 306 electoral votes. 306 electoral votes. That's huge. We got to be real right now. Joe Biden has a historic victory, a truly historic victory over Donald J. Trump. Okay? This is more votes than a president has ever received. It's the highest voter turnout since 100 years as in proportion to the population. And I do believe this is one of the highest electoral vote victories against an incumbent since FDR and Herbert Hoover. If you want to look at an interesting period of time, it's the Great Depression, Herbert Hoover, people living in Hoovervilles, and the total lack of response from the U.S. government to help people out economically. I think there's some corollary. No, I don't think Joe Biden is FDR. Absolutely not. But there's some stuff there. Anyway, in court, Republicans on Friday faced losses in Michigan, Arizona, and Pennsylvania, while another major law firm withdrew from its representation of the president. So not only are these cases failing, they just fail over and over and over again, but Trump is just hemorrhaging his legal teams, firms. They just keep leaving. Here, look at this. It goes from bad to worse for the Trump legal team. A couple days ago, blah, blah, blah. Over the past 2 days, 2 prominent law firms have sought to withdraw from representing the Trump legal effort in Arizona and Pennsylvania. And Friday, the campaign was forced to reverse course in an Arizona case, acknowledging that the lawsuit, even if successful, wouldn't overturn President-elect Joe Biden's lead in the state. So, this is, the game's over, people. Any claim that there was anything fraudulent going on, there have only been a few cases of proven voter fraud in this election. And you guessed it, to a previous video of mine, all Trump supporters. All Trump supporters trying to vote more than once for Donald Trump. But yeah, so Trump is a loser. He's lost. Trumpism is coming to an end. It's coming to a embarrassing, violent, vicious end, right? Gotta admit, it tastes good for me, because this Trump supporter who I talked to, so angry, so mad at me for my last video and reporting I've done. But we just started talking about the whole thing, about the election. And I asked her, you really don't think the way Trump is and the way you guys are about him, hasn't turned a lot of people off? And it was really funny, their logic. Well, where's all Biden's car parades and boat parades? Where's all the Biden flags? Where's all Biden's rallies in the middle of a pandemic, right? And, it's always been the case that the Democrats, when was the last time we were truly excited to vote for somebody? Oh, it was Barack Obama the first time. By the second time, a lot of people knew he wasn't exactly the hope and change we were hoping for, right? But they just don't get that we're not putting. Some people have flew the Biden flag and done little Biden parades on their little bikes or in their little green car, their hybrid cars or whatever. But it's kind of weird and gross and creepy to be that into a politician. Politician is something you get. You're supposed to just get what you want from them. Just, hey man, keep the ship running, keep the trains running on time. Try not to let this thing drive into the ditch. It's exactly what Trump did. He drove the country into a ditch with coronavirus, and I would argue many other things. But I'm one of those people who I just pay too much attention, and I think there are a lot of things that the Democrats do that have helped create Trump, to be honest. And Joe Biden has a lot of work to do and Kamala Harris, and the Democrats in general, if they're not just going to hand us another Trump. But what Trumpists don't really get is how little people really like him. And Republicans love him. Republicans love Trump. Let's be real. 72 million or however many it is now voted for Trump. Historic turnout for a Republican president. They love this guy. He's their guy, right? Anybody who complained about political correctness is such a problem. You can't say what you want to say. And Donald Trump thinks what he says what I'm thinking, right? And I don't want to be mean about it, but I was like, oh, he says the dumb things, shitty things that you're thinking. Bo here says, yeah, I really hope the Dems don't try to be too bipartisan. This did not work for Obama at all. Yeah, and I don't know if it's like abusive like spouse syndrome or whatever, like where they just feel they have to, it's like a little dog that's been hit. They just come up shaking like, please, will you pet me, please? Can we be friends? It's like a shell shock from the Reagan era, really, and so many of these Republicans Democrats we're dealing with, I kind of see them as center Republicans, Republican light, are from the Reagan era. Joe Biden, product of the Reagan era. Nancy Pelosi, product of the Reagan era. Chuck Schumer, they're all have this mindset, and it's very clearly illustrated by somebody like, when AOC criticizes the fundraising apparatus as she did in New York Times, she's making clear like the way Democrats are running is outdated. Their politics are outdated. They are not living in the era that so many of us who continue to vote for them are. So, you could say Joe Biden has a historic win, like he has got more votes. Or I think it's more apt to say more Americans hate Donald Trump than any other candidate in history, right? I would say most people came out. I mean, maybe there's some. I would love to meet somebody like this who, Joe Biden was vice president as all throughout the years of Obama years, and they were like, yeah, Obama's great and I hope and change, but look at that guy, man. That guy, I just got stars in my eyes for that Joe Biden, right? Obama picked Joe Biden as vice president to calm down scared Whitey, right? He picked the old centrist conservative, talking up Strom Thurmond and treating Anita Hill like crap. During the judicial or the confirmation hearings for I'm blanking on his name right now, conservative Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, and who was like, I just can't wait till Joe Biden gets his turn at 78 to be. Joe Biden has failed every time he tried to be president. Joe Biden running this time was, he literally, his whole campaign, I'm not Donald Trump, everybody. Hey, I'm not that guy that you hate. Oh, okay, Joe, we'll show up. I have to say this again. As a Joe, we're not sending our best. I apologize. The Joes, they're not sending their best. Joe Biden, Joe Arpaio, not sending our best. Sorry if I'm hitting the hard P's there a bit. Sorry about that. So, You know, and the voter fraud stuff, I think, I mean, Donald Trump made clear he was going to do this the whole time. You know, he said in 2016 that there was voter fraud, that there was widespread voter fraud. And he put together a commission to find the widespread voter fraud, found nothing. This was always part of his plan, okay? Always part of his plan to discredit the democratic process. You know, and I think it's dangerous because A, his followers believe him, but B, it's just another thing that he is eroding and smashing on his way out. You know, just so many norms, you know, respect for the press. I get if you don't like corporate media. I'm with you on that. But doing things like calling journalists the enemy of the people, I mean, that's had an effect on my life. It's had an effect on my safety as a journalist. You know, I don't just feel safe going out and interviewing people, especially don't feel safe going out to interview Trump people at any of their rallies now that I've done that a couple times and they send me threats online. You know, so, you know, and here's the other thing. I've heard from a couple MAGA people. Like I mentioned the lady who's freaking out at me just can't on the phone yesterday, but somebody else too who believe in this voter fraud stuff. And it really is interesting that they point to, what do they do? Because look at this, Michigan, Pennsylvania, we're talking about Detroit, we're talking about Philadelphia, Georgia, we're talking about Atlanta. These are the cities and the areas that flipped the election, and the suburbs surrounding, that flipped the election to Joe Biden, right? Even though the red mirage was real and the early numbers showed Republicans in the lead, the red mirage was real. And these cities showed up. Trump has been endlessly shitting on Democrat cities. These Democrat cities. Literally said he wanted to withhold coronavirus aid just because they're Democrat cities and they're poorly run and they can't get law and order and all. Endlessly crapped on metropolitan areas where the most of the people live. Is that a strategy mistake? Maybe. But these Trump supporters said those areas are so corrupt. Detroit is so corrupt. Philadelphia, so corrupt. And I have to wonder, like, if you just read between the lines, because Republicans, I'm sorry, but they're liars. Donald Trump, if they came out to vote for Donald Trump, you know, tons of them are racist. So Detroit and Philadelphia was some of the highest concentrations of black voters in the United States. Atlanta as well. That's what they mean when they say corrupt. And this is why you see them so clearly, the Republicans trying to suppress the vote there. And notice the language that Trump and Republicans have used. We want to count the legal ballots. The legal ballots. They don't see the votes of people of color as legitimate. They just don't. And that's why, that's what voter ID is about. That's what purging voter rolls is about. That's what in Florida, not allowing felons to vote because we have a racist carceral state. That's what that's all about. So don't get it twisted. Don't get it mixed up. That's what we're dealing with. Lindsey Graham the other day tweeted how, you know, if we don't do something about our voting system, a Republican president will never be elected again. You know, and what they mean is we got to stop the vote of people of color, of people in cities. You know, in Georgia, the Secretary of State has limited the number of polling places in Atlanta, in the surrounding suburbs, where they have so many black voters. And this is amazing. Georgia's flipped blue. It's incredible. It really is a remarkable feat. Donald Trump was able to turn a state in the South blue because of how bad he is and how racist he is. Let's be honest. Why does Trump only save the insult of low IQ for black representatives like Maxine Waters? Just think about it. He never uses low IQ for anybody but black people like Maxine Waters.